Easy as you like from Andre Russell, easy as you like from Rinku Singh. 4 wickets in the one and only over that he's bowled, as he tends to, for KKR every now and then. Has left the Gujarat Titans, who had looked good at one stage, from 133 for 2 after 16.2 overs to 156 for 9. That's quite the collapse in T20 cricket. We look back at it. Tim Southee had his say too on another day when Hardik Pandya has shown what sort of form and fitness he's in. On Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket Info T20 Timeout, powered by ICO 95G. We'll hear from Chris Lynn. First up, Dan Vettori. 156, KKR, happy with that?
I think KKR would be, but I also think the reason that they batted first was they thought, Hardik Pandya obviously thought the wicket wouldn't be conducive to a big score. So I think that's been proven. You could see that a couple of slow balls, the way that Southee hit the deck, it looked difficult to actually get pace off the wicket. So I think both teams are going to walk off feeling relatively comfortable. But KKR, whenever you have a performance like that at the back end, you get that little bit of momentum, a little bit of feel good. 4 wickets and over doesn't happen too often. So they will be happy because they've been able to probably pull it back from that 170, 175 mark.
I mean, I guess if they would have got that one big over, Chris, they would have been happier, the Titans. As it turns out, in the last 5 overs, the most expensive over just went for 11, the penultimate one. Would you share Dan's view that this is still one of those in-between scores? We're not sure what to make of it, or would KKR still be the happier side?
Yeah, I agree with Dan, but before the game, I think Kolkata would be happy with that if you take that. And saying that, we're not out there. We're not out there in the middle. It looks quite warm watching that innings. But yeah, I think all in all, as Dan did mention, the momentum is huge. So they're going to carry that out to the batting innings. And as we touched on earlier, Kolkata need to get off to a good start with the power play. They haven't done that so far throughout the tournament. So tonight can be the night.
Yep. Tim Southee had a big say in these first 20 overs, 3 crucial wickets, and looked good, even though he's coming off a few weeks on the bench.
We talked about before the game that he was probably brought in as a death specialist, but he didn't have to bowl death at all. I think he used the wicket. He obviously got the lucky wicket early on with Shubman Gill caught down the leg side by Billings. But I thought when he came back to Hardik Pandya, he used the wicket impressively. And what Southee does in his not his latter years, but his more mature years as a bowler is he's not relying on pace. He's relying on skill. You see him use that cross seam a lot. The way he hit the wicket, even the one that he bowled to Rashid Khan that got him out, he banged it in, but it actually jagged a little bit off the surface. So that's why I think it's going to be a tricky chase. But Southee's bowling performance has given KKR a chance.
I don't know if the Southee-Cummins swap was also related to injury, but you sometimes sense when you look at the two that Southee seems to be the kind of bowler that changes his game according to conditions more than Pat Cummins, who's hoping that conditions help his sort of skill set.
And I think that is the pace thing. I think Cummins obviously probably has 10 to 15 Ks off Southee, and it has been reliant on being able to hit the surface and causing so much disruption at international level in all formats, whereas Southee's probably had to find a way in different circumstances. And once again, he was brought in for the death, but he wasn't required. But his skill earlier on allowed, I suppose, the over that Russell bowled. The fact that they were coming up against the latter stages. We talked about Gujarat probably not having that longer tail. And that's probably Russell's ideal situation, is bowling to new batsmen at the back end, and batsmen of not that as high quality as he's used to bowling to.
Yeah, you go with that? It was a hard man to get away today, Tim Southee, Chris?
Yeah, I love the sense of calmness that he brings to the lineup. Having faced him a fair bit, as we touched on, he's not the quickest bowler, but the subtle changes that he brings, he catches you off, and his execution of his skill is, second to none. So I like the fact that he used the wicket. He doesn't have just one trick when he's bowling through the middle. He's got plenty of options. But I just like the way he gets around the other bowlers as well, when he's fielding it deep, long on, long off. So the impact that he has, not only with ball in hand, but, as a leader around the group is huge. And I have no doubt that Shreyas Iyer and Baz, would be over the moon with that.
Hardik Pandya, we're wondering where he'd bat, Chris, and who'd bat at 3. It was Hardik Pandya, and it was early. There was an early wicket, so out he came. He looked head and shoulders above the rest. It's an impressive run of consistent big scores in T20 cricket in the IPL. Not something that Hardik Pandya is used to with the roles he's played for Mumbai previously.
Yeah, I think the burden of the captaincy as well has, done him wonders. Again, I touched on before the game that he's got that look in his eye that, he's out there, he means business. Previously, we've seen him, being that joking character out in the middle, but, what he's brought to the table, what he's brought to Gujarat. It's a sense of pride, sense of passion, and a sense of determination and hunger. For the team to do well, and I think the rest of the team are just riding off the back of that. And that's why I feel, even though they're the one of the new franchises, how quickly they've gelled together is actually really impressive.
It seems so much easier for Hardik the batter than. Saha struggled to run a ball 25. Miller had a couple of lucky breaks, edge and catch of the boundary, whatnot. Hardik seemed to be just more or less fine.
Well, I think Hardik Pandya is a batsman. I think when you're labelled as an all-rounder and there's always a push to be bowling, sometimes the actual batsmanship gets forgotten about. And when you see him come in at 3, and when you see him read a situation, when you see him understand what he needs to do to get his team through, whilst still being attacking, whilst still, I suppose, picking up a little bit of the slack that Saha left them with, you almost think maybe he's better off not bowling. Just be a number 3 batsman who can guide a team through that, because he's not just a hitter. He can bat at any stage of the innings because his skill level is so high. And I always wonder about that with all-rounders. There's been like the Shane Watsons in the past, or even someone like a Mitch Marsh, who there's always that push, can we get 2, 3, 4 overs out of them? And maybe that just takes away from their primary skill set, which is batting.
So you see him as a good enough batter to bat in the top 3, which we associate a very different kind of batter with in India, at least, because it's so crowded. Rohit, Kohli, KL Rahul, whatnot. Hardik Pandya, is he good enough to bat at 3 at the international level, or are you still going to reserve him for that difficult 5, 6 finisher spot?
I think he can bat top 3, but I think probably 4 is even a better position, because it's a hard position to fill in any side, and because of his experiences at the back end, he understands what it takes to finish an innings. He's probably had enough experience for those middle stages, and now with Gujarat, he's getting enough experiences at the top of the order. So he's actually building himself as a complete package as a batsman, and as well as a leader. And maybe the bowling can just be 1 or 2 overs here and there when required. But I do believe he's good enough to bat in that top 3 or 4.
Chris, it's a fascinating insight on what Hardik Pandya, the batter, can possibly achieve if given what we've seen in this year's IPL. And we've seen so many batters who bat in that middle order sort of role. Once they open, they're a lot better. But once you go to 3 and 4, it doesn't seem like the natural sort of shift. You have specialists for 5, 6, and you have guys who can tonk it at the top. I mean, you know how much fun that is. But Hardik Pandya, what have you seen from him in terms of just the way his batting seems to be evolving in 2020 cricket this season?
Well, I think we always talk about his power, and his ability to hit the 4s and 6s. But what he's shown is he's the batsmanship, out there in the middle. There's actually the match awareness from Hardik Pandya. People, as I said, just think he's a guy that just clears the boundaries, and actually doesn't have a skill of batting time. But what we've seen is he can actually build innings, play what's in front of him, have a defense when the ball is swinging. So I think that's the biggest thing, probably most impressive thing that I've found with him batting 3 or 4 is that his game awareness. As I said, he's not just a power hitter. He's actually got a craft to, and he's identified that as well. And I think he wants to take ownership and lead with actions. Like, he's not the most, outspoken guy in the change room. So how else do you lead a team? And that's by showing him out in the middle. And it's been great to watch. And, the guys are actually thriving off his energy as well.
All right. Chase coming up now. 157. Many ways to approach 157. Is it the Kane Williamson way? Let's take our time. Let's make sure we don't lose a lot of wickets, or is it the Brendan McCullum way of, come on, let's get 150 or 157 in the first 6 or something like that?
Well, I think it's the Sunil Narayan way. I think he's gonna play how he plays no matter what, and it's obviously Ferguson, Shami early on, so there's going to be fireworks either way. So I think the 6 overs will actually dictate the game, because it looked like the batting became harder and harder. So if Narayan can play in the Brendan McCullum way and his style, and get on top of those 2 fast bowlers, then the score could look relatively simple. But if Gujarat can get on top early, then I think those middle stages will be tricky with Rashid Khan.
Chris? All yours.
Let me take over.
But I think don't think Narayan will open the batting. I haven't seen the TV. He's probably walking out in the middle right now. But what Dan said, I just see sometimes he can get off to a flyer. You've got to be patient with your fields. He's going to hit good balls, for six, but you got to be consistent with those legs because he's every chance of just hitting one straight up in the air. So if Gujarat hold their nerve nice and early, I actually think the 159 is a great score.
We will find out if there are any hiccups for the Knight Riders, like there were for me. This IPL is going to kill me, I'm telling you. Anyway, prediction time. Dan Vettori, KKR to get this or Gujarat to defend it? Will it be close?
I think it'll be close. I think KKR will get it. Interesting that Billings and Narayan have walked out there.
Yes.
So Venkatesh at the back end could be something they're using to counter that leg spin, but I think KKR will get through.
So clearly they've discussed a different role for Venki Iyer, Chris. Middle order in that game, that crazy game against Rajasthan too, and that's where they're likely to keep him.
Yeah, I think if Gujarat can take early wickets, that's going to be a huge win for them. Sam Billings has been a great finisher for KKR, so they're going to see that opportunity to open up that middle order with Billings at the top if they can take early wickets. So I'm actually going to go for Gujarat to take the win here.
You've seen a bit of Sam Billings open though, capable T20 opener.
He's capable anywhere, and maybe they've just tried to keep the Finch overseas player role intact in terms of, looks like he's got a slight injury, so Billings just comes straight in for him as opposed to moving other things around, and he's a good player of pace. So once again, when you come up against Gujarat, you're coming up against pace.
Okay, right and left. Let's see if it goes the Knight Riders' way. They certainly would like a couple of points, otherwise that's 4 defeats in a row for Shreyas Iyer's side. We'll pick up the chat and also build up to RCB against Sunrisers. Join us then on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket 4 T20 Timeout, powered by Q95G.